Good afternoon, kings and queens, and welcome back to another Should You Buy It game review with me, Pastory, and us, Brotherhood. Today, I'm gonna tell you about a game called Cornucopia. Cornucopia is a relaxing farming/life simulation game with a little bit of a RPG on the side. First, I was going to just take a proper look of the game as it is still in early access. But after spending about 50 hours farming and just wiping it, I decided that it calls for a video. I honestly can't explain the last weekend to my wife if I don't upload this, you know. Game is developed and published by Subconscious Games, and I gotta tell you, I have a hard time believing this is all they seem to have made, as it for sure doesn't feel like it playing the game. Game is getting regular, as well as major updates monthly. So it at least seems like we are heading towards future full release, full speed. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you about Cornucopia. Overview of gameplay and art style. Game itself is a mixture of taking care of your farm, plants, animals, production of many different goods, as well as upgrading and building new facilities. When you leave your farm, you are met with a quite big open world full of stores, services, events of many kind, and NPCs to interact with, or just to see their stories evolve from the side. What I noticed playing the life simulation part of the game, there was a lot of well-placed humor, and conversations were not too long or never felt like you wanted to just get going already. Even the events around the year felt fun and even rewarding sometimes. Then there is the dungeons and combat. Well, not the best part of the game. Doing dungeons themselves was fun enough and really rewarding, like really rewarding. They even made it so that the time goes slower in there, so you can actually make these crazy profit days just farming the place. But the combat itself was just there because it had to be there. You don't really have a gear per se for the RPG side of the game. You can use your normal tools as well as the torch that you are handed when you first enter the place. There's bombs as well, and the tools have their own special abilities, but in general, you go to the next enemy and press attack until it dies, while making sure you click your food on your hotbar if you're about to die. You can play around staying far from them with your companion tanking, but even if you move away after you see the attack animation, it will hit you no matter where you are, as the game still considers you being there when that tick happened. So there's no real skill-based combat in my opinion, but grinding through the dungeons didn't feel tedious either, as it was so rewarding, and honestly I never felt like the combat was the point either, other than that the so-called main quest will take you through the different dungeons. There was also literally signs in the dungeons, telling that the areas are still under development, even if you can play them fully already. So let's keep that in mind doing these early access reviews. What I did feel the game was mostly about, for me at least, was the amazing vibe. Music, the aesthetics, they were just so relaxing and fun. I'm a big fan of bit art style in indie games like Starbound, Terraria, and if you haven't noticed yet, this game reminds you all the most, Stardew Valley. I have a history of praising Stardew as my favorite relaxing game of all time, and you can imagine my excitement when I launched the game and I started realizing what is going on. As this was in many ways still different and more in-depth with mechanics, it was like getting to play this new game in an environment that already made me feel relaxed by experience. Other than that, from the gameplay, something that really popped up was the amount of mini-games they had in it. So many things had their own mini-games, as well as dozens of arcade mini-games and even hidden mechanics with things like mining. I have personally not done anything in games as much as I have fished. This is stated and proved many times out there. And kid you not, they actually had a fishing minigame I have never come across before. To sum up, I like the game's vibe and art style, but I do realize the bit art is not for everyone, and as so, that is for all of you to decide yourself. Game mechanics. Now the main thing I want to bring up is the farming in the game, as I have never seen anything like it. Each plot of land you plow has their own nutrition values, as well as one of 3 possible ground types, which, by the way, can also be mixed together. Nutrients consist of nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, as well as bioactivity. Every plant has their own preference of a ground type and what type of nutrient and how much they prefer. You can still grind easy profit without ever even touching this mechanic and just farming, but how much this affects it makes it something you really should consider doing. If I can recommend something, is that to create dedicated spots for growing certain things. While you keep growing them in these spots, you also keep working the ground, eventually getting to a point where the ground is perfect for that stuff. You need fertilizers and bags of dirt to modify your plots, and they are decently easy to acquire, but of course, there's so many of them as well. Buying most things from stores was based on daily random inventory they got. Many times finding multiple of that one thing you wanted ended up being days of work. Eventually you started to just stack inventories just in case, as gold did not seem to be an issue at any point. Also, unlocking new blueprints was behind either leveling different skills throughout using dedicated tools, which forced you to practically do everything in the game eventually, even the things that might not have been for you per se. I also did not seem to find a way to see what skills would open what blueprints, other than that the very next, which made it a little weird trying to, for example, unlock urn for making butter. As a last thing, one of the most unique parts of the game in this genre was the cards. You collect these cards throughout the most things you do in the game, and they have multiple different purposes. Some are scratch cards, sort of loot boxes that allow you to either unlock or acquire something by RNG. Some cards have effects like change weather, double jump, etc. Some are quests that you can complete for rewards, and many of them are different types of buffs for pretty much every activity in the game. You can activate 4 of these at a time, and as so do like insane fishing deck and fish for days with huge rewards, or just combat focused decks and grind dungeons. There was even things like teleport to certain places. I found them quite cool after I got into how to use them efficiently. Quality of life. One of the most important parts of any game in my opinion, and as so we have respectively given it its own section. In general, Cornucopia felt easygoing, and I don't think I ever got too annoyed of any mechanic. Tutorials were great at the start, and quests kinda took you through the most activities you were able to do. There was hotkeys for most things you want there to be, and things like chance to transfer stuff straight for sale and fridge when you were standing at your general storage, filling it with stuff belonging there. Even if the map was pretty vast, there was teleportation stones as well as cards I mentioned previously to make it easier. You were also able to ride your companion and race them, and after that it felt easy to get from place A to B. Game time also paused every moment you wanted it to, like inventory and storage. I don't think there was any punishment staying up 24/7, at least I didn't come by, as you could just eat your energy back rather than sleep. Game never really punished you from anything too badly, and most of the time felt right way relaxing for a game like this. Even when your inventory was full and you tried to pick up more stuff, it just got sent to your storage automatically. You could also empty unwanted stuff to storage from your inventory on fly. Average playtime value. I personally ended up spending over 50 hours in it, but I do get stuck in building projects and such quite easily. I would still say you can't experience it all too much faster than that. For a type of a sandbox simulation game, time you use playing them depends on so many things, and what I can tell you is that there is definitely content to spend a lot of it playing this one. Remember, we are talking about an early access game, and I can definitely see myself going back to this after more content is released. As it costs $20 right now, I would say playtime value of the game is great. As a conclusion, depth of the game mechanics like farming are amazing and intriguing. Variety of different things you can do in the game makes it easy to get lost in it for hours and hours. The relaxed vibe that the game creates is more than fitting for the genre. Altogether, game felt way more ready than usual early access games and was well put together. Sometimes the sheer amount of different plants and items felt unnecessary. RNG of many things in the game made it sometimes hard to progress just because of lack of a draw. The combat in-game was definitely the weakest link, but also not the center of the game in any level. Well, should you buy it then? No. But only because I will never recommend you buying game in early access. But other than that, yes, absolutely. Game was worth the 20 it costs and still in active development as well. Altogether, a great experience. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you to decide yourself if you wanna get the game. But for now, I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day. Remember to stay awesome, stay safe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.